Hi, welcome to City of Calabasas Teen Forum. I'm your host, Emily Ford. Teen Forum is an opportunity for teens like us to express our opinions on relevant topics. Today we're going to be talking about gender equality. Our panelists include LIDA BAGHJAJIAN, and she is on peer support and on drumline, and she would like to say hi to her mom. MARISA Black is a junior at Calabasas High School, and she is on the football team and is co-founder of the Salvation Army Teen Advisory Board. ROSENSON is a senior at CHS, and she is the mom of the Academy of Media and Entertainment. She's also in sports medicine, president of the Gay Straight Alliance, and the head manager of the CHS football team. She really likes apples. Matthew Anderson is one out of two Ander twins. He is on the track team and does sprinting and long jump, and also in CHS marching band. SOPHIA DARGIE is on track team at Calabasas High. She is a sophomore in speech and debate, and she is a meme queen. Again, our topic is gender equality, and let's start with MARISA. Do you believe that it exists?
Well, I guess that's a question that could be taken either way tremendously. Here in Calabasas at school, it's such a great environment that you see that every student has an equal opportunity. And I get to play football, and I'm pretty psyched about that. And I just feel very well put together with everyone, and I feel very equal. But as someone who's moved 23 times, I've lived in places like around the world where that's not even my daily reality, isn't even a possible dream for some people. Like at school, we had a girls' soccer team, but they didn't play games because they couldn't travel, but the boys could go wherever they wanted. So I guess it's just a question that could be taken either way.
Do any of you have other experiences like that? I know that especially in the music program, like since I'm on drumline, it's usually dominated by guys, and then there's also other sections like, let's say, the flutes that have mostly girls, so it's kind of taboo to think of someone else to come into that. So is there anything like that in classes that you take, like Sophia, for example?
No, in all my classes, especially like the Academy or the AME program at Calabasas High, everyone's pretty equally represented. Usually in the entertainment industry, it's viewed as more, as like Emily said, like a male-dominated society, but more female directors and screenplay writers are coming into the industry, and it's it's a good environment.
Like what you're saying about in the band, I think everyone does have a pretty equal opportunity. Because I know when you did in middle school, you switched from instrument to instrument. You're trying to figure out which one you wanted to play. So I think, regardless of your gender, you get that equal opportunity. You get to do what you want to do, at least at the Calabasas High School.
Lita, do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, whenever I started with music in 6th grade, I was the only girl that did it, percussion, and it was really strange. I was like, wait, why am I the only one? Like, more people should be involved. But as I got into Calabasas High, I met you, I met Chloe, a bunch of other girls, our percussion instructor Tina Raymond, she's great. It's just more prevalent in high school now, so that's really cool to meet other girls that play drums.
In other places around the world, like, what do you think happens?
Well, I definitely think that inequality exists in places around the world. We tend to really think of, inequality as the wage gap, here in America, but it's actually a really huge issue, especially in developing countries where women are still viewed as property. And when people say that they don't need feminism because they feel equally represented in, their school or current environment, like, we all feel pretty represented at Calabasas High, it's very, self-centered to think that you don't need feminism because there are millions of women around the world who are not being treated equally.
What is the modern definition of feminism, and can anyone be a feminist?
Absolutely. Anyone can be a feminist. The modern definition of feminist is equal rights for both men and women. Not to say that one gender has more rights than the other, but they're completely equal on both standards. A lot of people tend to view feminism as raising women above men, but that's simply not the case.
What are your thoughts? Any of you?
I completely agree with what Sophie said, because there are a lot of people now that are speaking against feminism, not because they don't think that there's equality, but I think there's been mix-up in what the exact definition of feminism means, and they are starting to think that, oh, well, is it equality or is it women being better than men? And that's not what it means, and that's why feminism, anyone can be feminist.
I've heard a lot of people start calling themselves like equalists because they don't believe in feminism. Like, well, it's technically the same thing. Like any definition of feminism that you look at, it has equal directly stated in there. It's not some sort of like hidden thing. It's pretty upfront.
Guilty on being called an equalist. Yeah, because every time I say I'm a feminist, I get dirty looks like, oh, you believe in like women being more empowered.
Yeah.
Not really the case. I mean, I like it to be pretty equal throughout everything. So I just call myself an equalist, yeah.
But maybe that's our responsibility to raise awareness of what feminism really is about.
Because I know it's different, it's kind of a generation thing. Like I know if I had been talking to someone who is older and I would say, I identify as someone who's a feminist, they would say, oh, that's terrible, like why, what's wrong with you? And it's like, the definition then has changed and evolved in so many ways. So do you guys all, like, what do you think happened with how it changed?
I think it became the word, feminism became associated with like more of a negative connotation, where it's not something that's, yes, we're fighting for, everyone to be, on the same level. It was more, people are now viewing it as something like, let's bring down, anyone who isn't a feminist, bring down anyone who is a guy, which is, not the case. Like you've stated, it's about equal rights, just, for everybody. Not.
And basically what Sophia said, I think that in other places there's definitely that inequality, but that's not what it's about. Or that I know there's that one girl that you're always going to have who's trying to, who got the wrong idea, and who's trying to bring women over men. But really that it's supposed to be the equal opportunity. Like you said, it's in the name, gender equality.
Yeah. And I think maybe some of you have heard about the 2 Army Rangers who are women who recently passed through a bunch of combat training, and they're the first to ever do so. Yet they can't perform in combat situations still because there are barriers over gender. And what's your opinion on that?
Well, I mean, they went through the same exact training as any guy would. I can't find a single reason why they wouldn't be allowed into the workforce as well. They've trained just as hard. They've put on as much time and energy and emotional toll. They should be granted the same exact rights.
Completely agreeing, because I know there have been cases where they were talking about the Army and the women having to do a difference in physical tests when joining the Army, and I guess that's different when they lower the standards just because they're women, which that shouldn't happen, but there shouldn't be a difference once they reach that status. There shouldn't be a difference in what they're allowed to do.
I mean, both male and female bodies function differently, but doesn't mean that one has to be easier than the other. There's just different training that helps, fit each body type more specifically.
I remember in elementary school when we ran the mile. I didn't meet the guys level. I got 8 minutes. But they said, oh, for a girl, that would be all right. You would pass. But since you're a guy, you didn't. So you have to do it all over again. It's like, that's not fair.
Yeah, like, I'm not sure. I mean, they can say it's scientific, but realistically, if I pushed myself hard enough, I could shave off 30 seconds off a mile.
Right.
Like, it's kind of a double standard, because then there's those people who say, oh, well, it's not okay if, let's say, women are raised over men, but if men are raised over women, like, that's fine. Like, there's double standard going both ways, really. Have you guys, like Marisa, have you experienced where you've had to do different things for football, or are you?
I think that's one of the lucky cases, because there's definitely different cases, but no, I've been able to do basically just the same things. I mean, whether it's the running or the tackling and all that fun stuff. It's I've actually been really fortunate and just been able to do everything that they've had to do.
Do they treat you any differently?
Like a sister. So, you know, they're my brothers. Allie would know, she's our team manager, and I think she gets treated equal. We all get treated equal, and that's one of the very lucky scenarios.
I mean, treated like a player? Not really. I just do water.
Well, no, you manage our team. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
Lida, have you experienced any of this with like drumline or anything?
Well, like back to like band and stuff, it's just the difference with the double standards. Like whenever I was in 6th grade, whenever I was choosing my instrument, I went to my grandma and was like, I really want to do percussion. They showed us how to play the drums and like they gave us a little intro. I'm really excited. And she's like, no, you can't do that. That's for dudes. Go play like piano or something. That's what girls do. And I was just thinking like how like it was so different like back then and now, like that we have so many more opportunities now as females and stuff with the equality.
Because I know usually, especially in percussion, like they'll assume the girls can play auxiliary and like, which is things like maracas and triangles, and like say you could play bells, so you could play xylophone. And so, have you experienced where people have assigned you parts?
Yeah, freshman year, they put me like in the pit. So like, even though like I was doing it for like 3 years, like I already knew like a bunch of stuff. They put me in like bells and stuff, which I was totally fine. I was like freshman, so I wanted to get a little bit more into it. So whenever I stopped more, I leveled up, and now even more. Now I just slammed that drum.
So yeah, have you like experienced it in other things, like not necessarily in sports or music, but like in classes, like when you're having discussions, like?
I mean, I haven't had it with any teacher specifically, but I've had it, more so with some students. I love computers and I love technology. I love learning about that stuff, and sometimes it's kind of hard, especially with some of my fellow male peers, for them to like understand that like I actually get this stuff, and like I know what I'm talking about, and sometimes they're very hesitant to talk to me about these things. I'm like, no, I know what you're talking about. This is something that I'm familiar with as well.
Allie, do you relate to this?
Yeah. Yeah. Many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, for example, can you say something?
When I was in Gen Tech, that my friends would be like, oh, you sure you know how to do this? I'm like, yeah. I've been doing this longer than you. You sure? Yeah. That happened a couple times. AME 2, it's a very a male dominant type of, well, no, we have actually more girls in our class, but usually it's a more male dominant class. So, and since I'm producer on the capstone, that's not usually like a female job. Usually men are producers on that one.
Is it like that with lots of different things? Like in not just the capstone, but?
Yeah, like director, this is our first female director actually this year. But yeah, there's a bunch of like roles on the capstone because usually they give girls like the social medias, hair and makeup and that stuff. But we actually have a lot of leading roles for girls this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think because in the work in the real workforce, like when you actually go out, and get a paying job, where I think it is more of a male, dominated, society especially with roles, and I think with starting with these classes in high school, introducing the idea that even if you are a girl, you can still be a director or producer, you can still have the really high titles. And I think that's working its way into all different lines of work, where just because of your gender, you're not going to be discriminated against. And I think that's something that is coming more into light, and it definitely should be, something that's more universally accepted for sure.
So like in the real world, what kind of things besides like the wage gap and like job opportunities, like?
Well, I mean, women will sometimes be they won't have as equal of an opportunity for a job as a man would, simply because the interviewer thinks that they're unqualified for the job, that just because they have the same amount or even more so of like education or training, it still might be like a hard barrier for them to get through just because they're female.
And it does go both ways. Like,
Absolutely.
for example, with, let's say someone wants to do hair and makeup, like you were saying, like how it's usually a girl's job.
Yeah.
If a guy wanted to do that, they may not be perceived as able to.
Yeah.
Or in peer support, especially in the earlier years, it was perceived to be a really womanly job, because the woman in the family are usually the ones taking care of the children, feeding the family. But I think now a lot of more guys are entering the program, and they're really bringing some benefits to it.
Yeah, definitely. Just because one, job title or position or role is more, is more viewed as male or female, I think that we should have come to a point in our society in understanding that just because a role is typically viewed as something that's more gender biased, that we should be able to rise above that standard and actually apply, any single job to any gender.
Yeah. Do you guys also see it in things like, there's a lot of double standards on dress codes? What's your experience?
The big one is dressing a certain way as a woman and being called distracting.
That's the word. I've gotten called out for my shoulders.
Oh,
Like, I was sitting in science, and my teacher came up to me, and she was like, "Can you put a jacket on? Like, I've gotten a complaint that your shoulders are distracting." I'm like, everyone has them.
And the other thing that I see a lot around school is guys wearing these shirts. I don't know if you've ever seen these, but like half or almost full naked woman, very provocative, positions, and it's just kind of like, is that not distracting? Like, it's vulgar, and it's just not really school appropriate. But if your shoulder shows, call the cops. It's
There was one kid in the jogathon, like back at AC Still, which is where like we would run around the track a bunch of times and like, yay, jogging. And so this one kid wore short shorts, and like he was a guy, but the girls were getting dress coded for wearing short shorts of the exact same length, but the teachers were encouraging him. Like saying, "Oh, it's funny, you should always wear those, you look great." Like, and then everyone was like, "Wait, but we're not allowed to?" And
Or a similar kind of scenario on the track team too,
yeah,
right?
like what
Because we have those really short shorts, so we don't have the drag from the clothes.
I know there's a lot of that with if something equal, but women can't wear it and men can wear it, and they just made that new law in Canada where wherever men can be shirtless, women can be shirtless too.
Oh, that's a thing.
Yes, that is a thing.
Wow.
Nice.
Go Canada.
Go Canada.
I actually remember on Halloween, a group of guys decided to dress up in really, really, really short shorts with the Borat bikini over it. So they were completely shirtless. They didn't get dress coded at all. And a girl who was wearing a skirt, it wasn't too short, but I mean, no, it was a pretty good length in my opinion. She got dress coded. And I'm like, really? Half naked men and covered women?
But like also, have you seen like with Halloween costumes, like you'll look, I know when I was littler, I would look at like the kids' boys' costumes, because quite frankly, they're made better, like better quality, and they're not revealing, because as an 8-year-old, I didn't really want to be wearing extremely revealing things. I just wanted to dress up as like Batman.
Right.
So.
Not
Well,
the sexy candy corn witch.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, so many female costumes are very, very provocative, and of course there's ones that you can find that are. I'm not to say that every single female Halloween costume on the market is provocative, but also typically around Halloween, in the fall season and at night, it gets cold, and it's like we are left with these options where you get a short skirt and a tank top. Have fun.
Like, have you seen if you go to a drugstore, I actually did this. I was looking for razors, and the men's razors come with more and are cheaper than the women's razors, which are just really expensive and like and pink. All of them are pink.
They're also taxed too. Men's razors aren't apparently.
Yeah.
What, really?
Yeah,
I read a whole article and like about a year ago, and it was just comparing different male like razors, shampoos and conditioners, facial supplies, to females, and females were about like 70 cents to a full $1 more expensive. And then if we apply that to the wage gap, where men get $1 to a female's 70 cents, that adds up for sure. If our cosmetics are more expensive, so it's a really, really, really intricate debate, the wage gap and the different pricings of gender-biased products. But it's definitely something that we should look at to make sure that all of the facts are, true and factual.
Also, I know this issue I have a lot is when I'm buying jeans. Women's jeans don't have front pockets. They're just non-existent. And the back pockets, if like they're even functional, which usually they're not, like everything falls out all the time, or like they don't have pockets, and they're thinner, like they're actually not made as well. Because I read an article on this. It's the same thing with sweaters, why I like buy men's jackets, because they're warmer and they last longer, because the women's ones are made to wear out quickly, so you buy more.
Well, like I know I have a sister, and usually in marching band we'll have a lyre or flip book or slide oil, valve oil, whatever, and she can't keep that in her pockets or whatever, or so she'll always ask me to hold it. So I mean that's kind of annoying to me too. I mean I could deal with it, but I'd rather not.
Equal pants.
I think going back to the Halloween costumes, when I was a kid and you look at the pictures, let's say you were to go into Party City, you look at the children's costumes, you see firefighters, police officers, scientists, but they're all men in the modeling pictures. And they never sell female like costumes that are with jobs that are considered for men.
This morning, there was a thing on the news about that.
Really?
Like this mom.
I know
had
now it sounds like I copied that.
she contacted, I think, Party City and was like, you guys have no job-related costumes for my daughter. Like, there's none that she can wear. And they were like, we'll consider your feedback. And that's it.
Well, even if there is a sort of occupation-based costume, instead of firefighter or police officer, you'll often find it be sexy firefighter, sexy police officer.
Like in the Leg Avenue section.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an apparent issue. And then also it goes the other way where guys can't wear dresses for whatever reason, which they're comfortable, I have to say.
Dresses are comfortable.
I agree.
Yeah.
That one time,
They're cool. Like when it's really hot.
When are dresses comfortable? What? I'm sticking to pants.
One thing I've noticed, whenever we were gonna get, like in the beginning of the year, we get like a big talk about like all the stuff we're gonna do in band and stuff, and we go to like the uniforms that we're gonna wear in the concerts. Like girls can wear like the suit and tux and the dresses, but the boys, there's no option for them to wear dresses, and I just find that kind of negative connotation. Even though like we're talking about how like most of it's like feminism and stuff, but like some things for like boys also. It's just targeted.
It's gender equality. Every single gender, not just even male and female genders, should be represented equally in our society.
Yeah, it definitely goes different ways. It can balance. Yeah.
I had that same problem though, like, because in jazz we were getting our briefing and they were like, all right, girls, you guys have to wear like a dress shirt and slacks, but it has to be like a blouse and like, or you can wear a black dress, and the guys just wear like a black shirt. And I was like, can I wear a dress shirt? Because I play drums. I can't, if it's all flowy. But yeah, there's definitely a double standard that I think is really apparent and ignored by most people.
And then going on kind of a new topic, there's a lot of things where emotions are also very gender biased, where men in society are expected not to, cry, not to feel as much as, a woman should, that men should always be the protectors kind of thing, and like they can't be emotionally affected by a situation, where the females are supposed to be more of the weak ones, and just like everything affects them kind of thing, which is, it goes both ways, that if you want to be emotionally affected by a situation, then you have every right inside of you, but just because of your gender doesn't mean that you can't feel a certain way about a certain thing.
For sure.
Definitely. I think if people see a man crying, not to be completely sexist here, this could go both ways, but they must think, oh, he must be going through something completely traumatic. And then if there's like a woman crying, it's, oh, it's her time of the month. And
her boyfriend broke up with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything is gendered. So
when you break it down, everything
when you
is
break it
gendered.
down, yeah. Thank you so much for your input. That's all the time we have for today. And thank you for watching. If you want to watch old archived episodes or have any questions, please visit our website, cityofcalabasas.com. I'm Emily Ford, and I will see you on the next episode of Teen Forum.